Californians appear concerned about El Nino and the predictions we could face the same level of flooding that we saw during the late 90s. And as a result, more people are signing up for flood insurance. The latest numbers released by FEMA show more than 28,000 people actually purchased flood insurance policies in September, October, and November. That is a 12% increase and a first for California. Joining us now from FEMA is Ahsha, Deputy Regional Administrator. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think about those numbers? 28,000, does that surprise you?
Absolutely, but I think it's a testament to FEMA and the media and the state all getting the information out there about how important it is to have flood insurance, especially with this El Nino.
I know I was talking to one of your coworkers, Mary, earlier, and something that took me by surprise was the price of flood insurance. I was always deterred, and I don't have it because I'm like, that's just another policy, that there's another $120 a month. I don't need it, I'm going to roll the dice, but that's not necessarily the case. Right?
Not necessarily. The flood insurance rates are based on your risk. So those high-risk people already have flood insurance because it's mandated by their lender. But in the low-risk areas, the price could be as low as $150 or so a year.
So what do you tell people who decide to sit at home, who may be in a kind of a flood level prone area, and roll the dice, and they say, well, you know what, I'm not going to get the insurance, I'll just let FEMA pick up the tab. They're going to come to the rescue when I'm in trouble.
So unfortunately, that's not how it works. So what I would recommend is getting flood insurance because then the control is in your hands. You don't have to wait for a federal disaster declaration. You can just submit your claim because every time you have a flood, there may not be a federal disaster declaration. So with the flood insurance, you can submit your own claim and have your flood insurance policy in your hands.
So you've been here 4 months in this position as the Deputy Regional Director, and you walk into an El Nino. So what's life been like over the last 4 months for you, and what have you been doing to prepare the region for these storms and flooding?
So since I got here, we created the El Nino Task Force, and so we've had all the community involved with us planning and making sure the word gets out and making sure that people have an understanding of their risk. So folks have been going to floodsmart.gov to understand their risk. As you can see by the numbers, they've been purchasing flood insurance, and we've been making sure, and we've really been trying to drive this home, have a plan. You must have a plan. There could be an earthquake as well as this flooding. So we really need people to be prepared. Make sure you have a kit, make sure you have a communications plan.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the plan of the flood? I mean, because we have a family plan for an earthquake, but you know, we don't really have one for flooding because we just don't experience it that often here. But your recommendations would be what if we had a plan?
So think about what flooding does. Flooding can cut off transportation networks, for example. Exactly. So your house may not be flooded, but the roadway to get to you or for you to get out could be flooded. So make sure that you have something to sustain at home. So water, your medications, food for your pet, etc. So all kinds of things can happen with flooding. It's not just flooding of your home, but you could lose power. So all kinds of impacts. So we want to make sure that people are ready and understand what to do.
Craigslist, maybe get a canoe?
Well, hey, if that works.
One last point I want to get across, and if you can emphasize this, because someone at home may be watching right now and they go, you know what, I'm going to go out, I'm going to investigate, try and figure out the best policy for flood insurance. Most of them don't take effect immediately. So if we have a flood in the next 2 weeks and say they got the policy in a week from now, doesn't mean that they're necessarily covered. It takes a few weeks to get it up and running. Yes,
that's correct, Mike. It takes about 30 days for the flood insurance policy to go into effect. So we can't emphasize enough, get it now before you're impacted.
Ahsha, Tribble, FEMA Deputy Regional Director. See, I got it on the second time. Makes me happy. Ahsha, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time. I know you're very busy.